Ever wondered about the underbelly of Trinidad and Tobago, the Paradise Islands? When we hear the names Trinidad and Tobago, our minds often wander to images of pristine sandy beaches, crystal clear waters, and vibrant, lively carnivals. It's a tourist's dream, a tropical paradise that seems perfect in every way. But beneath the surface of this Caribbean Eden, there's a different reality that often goes unnoticed by the outside world. There's an unseen side to this paradise, a side marred by the issues of drugs and violence. Yes, you heard it right. These Paradise Islands, known for their breathtaking landscapes and rich cultural heritage, are also home to a darker reality. A reality where the specters of drug trafficking and violent crime loom large, casting long dark shadows over the sun-soaked beaches and colorful festivities. Now you might be wondering, how can such a beautiful place be plagued by such grim issues? Well, the answer to that lies in the complex socio-economic fabric of the islands. A fabric that's woven with threads of poverty, inequality, and corruption. And it's these very threads that have given rise to the drug and violence issues in Trinidad and Tobago. But this isn't a story of despair, it's a story of resilience and hope. A story of a paradise that's fighting to reclaim its peace, its tranquility, and its rightful place in the world. A story that we believe needs to be heard, understood, and appreciated. So today we're going to take a closer look at this unseen side of paradise. We're going to delve into the gritty reality of Trinidad and Tobago, exploring the depth and breadth of the drug and violence issues that the islands are grappling with. We'll shed light on the challenges, the struggles, and the triumphs that are part and parcel of this complex narrative. Now, let's delve into the history to understand how this paradise turned into a battleground. To grasp the current situation, we need to journey back in time. Our tale begins in the colonial era, a time when the beauty of Trinidad and Tobago was first marred by the scourge of violence and drugs. These twin evils, like unwelcome guests, arrived on the shores of this paradise alongside the European colonizers, forever tainting its pristine image. As the sugarcane fields flourished under the blazing Caribbean sun, so too did the clandestine cultivation of illicit substances. The seeds of the drug trade were sown, germinating in the fertile soil of economic disparity and social unrest. Violence, always lurking in the shadows, became a grim companion to this illicit trade, inflicting a deep and lasting wound on the collective psyche of the nation. In the throes of the 19th century, the abolition of slavery brought a fresh wave of immigrants to the islands, each bringing their unique cultures, traditions, and unfortunately, their own forms of drug use and violence. The islands became a melting pot, not just of cultures, but also of illicit activities. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, Trinidad and Tobago basked in the glory of its newfound independence. However, beneath the veneer of triumph, the seeds of discord sown in the colonial era were sprouting into a full-blown crisis. The drug trade burgeoned, fueled by the increasing global demand for narcotics. Violence, now an indelible part of the landscape, spiraled out of control. By the time the late 20th century rolled around, the islands were caught in a vicious cycle of drug trafficking and violence. The drug trade, now a well-oiled machine, operated with impunity, its tendrils reaching into every facet of society. Violence, no longer just a side effect, had become a means to an end, a tool wielded with ruthless efficiency by those in the drug trade. Despite the government's best efforts to curb this growing menace, the situation seemed to be slipping out of control. The paradise that was Trinidad and Tobago was now a battleground, the echoes of its tumultuous past reverberating into the present. As we move into the 21st century, the situation starts to escalate. With the dawn of the new millennium, Trinidad and Tobago faced a surge in drug and violence. As the calendar flipped to the 21st century, this dual-island Caribbean nation found itself grappling with a dark undercurrent that began to flow more forcefully. The early years of the new century bore witness to a significant rise in drug trafficking and violence in Trinidad and Tobago. The roots of this surge were multifaceted, a tangled web of socio-economic factors, global influences, and local circumstances. The country's strategic location, nestled between the drug-producing south and the drug-consuming north, made it an attractive transit point for illicit narcotics, particularly cocaine. But it wasn't just geography that played a part. Economic disparities and a lack of opportunities for the nation's youth sowed seeds of discontent, which often found expression in violent ways. The lure of quick money through drug trafficking became an irresistible temptation for some, contributing to the rise in drug-related violence. The burgeoning gang culture, fed by these socio-economic conditions, further fueled the surge. As rival gangs vied for control of the lucrative drug trade, violence escalated. Gun battles in the streets became all too common, and innocent bystanders often found themselves caught in the crossfire. Government corruption and a weak judicial system also played their roles. The corruption allowed drug trafficking to flourish, while the judicial system's inefficiencies meant that many of those involved in the drug trade and violence could evade justice. The rise in drug trafficking and violence during the early part of the 21st century was not an isolated phenomenon. It was a complex interplay of various factors, both local and global. It was a reflection of deeper societal issues that needed to be addressed. This surge wasn't without consequences. In the next scene, we'll delve into the domino effect that this surge triggered, affecting every aspect of life in Trinidad and Tobago. The rise in drug and violence has set off a domino effect in Trinidad and Tobago. This domino effect is like a chain reaction, where one event sets off a series of interconnected events, each influencing the next. Let's take a deeper look at how this ripple effect has impacted society, politics, and the economy in Trinidad and Tobago. The societal impact is perhaps the most immediate and visible. The increase in drug use and violence has led to an escalation in crime rates, creating a sense of insecurity and fear among the residents. This fear, in turn, has disrupted community life, with people living in a constant state of anxiety. The social fabric that once held communities together is now fraying at the edges. Simultaneously, this rise has also had profound political implications. The government, in an attempt to curb the situation, has been compelled to allocate a significant portion of the national budget towards law enforcement and rehabilitation programs. This has not only strained the country's financial resources, but has also diverted funds away from other crucial areas like education and healthcare. At the same time, the political landscape has become increasingly volatile. The public's dissatisfaction with the government's handling of the issue has led to a decline in trust in political institutions. This erosion of faith in the government has the potential to destabilize the country's political order, creating a breeding ground for further unrest and conflict. Finally, let's consider the economic consequences. The rise in drug use and violence has deterred both local and foreign investments, hindering economic growth. The tourism industry, a significant contributor to the country's GDP, has also taken a hit as travelers steer clear of the country due to safety concerns. In short, the domino effect of the rise in drug use and violence in Trinidad and Tobago has left no sector untouched. It's a complex web of interconnected repercussions that continue to reverberate throughout the nation. But what does the situation look like today? Fast forward to today, the struggle against drugs and violence continues. The breathtaking islands of Trinidad and Tobago are still grappling with a reality that's far from the paradise we often imagine. A reality where the specter of drug abuse and violence is a constant, daily presence. The statistics tell a sobering tale. In recent years, the drug-related crime rate has seen a sharp rise. The impact of this surge isn't just confined to the numbers. It's a ripple effect that's felt in every corner of society, from the bustling streets of Port of Spain to the tranquil beaches of Tobago. Drugs, particularly cocaine, continue to be a significant issue. The island's strategic location, nestled between drug-producing and drug-consuming regions, has made them an attractive transit point for international drug traffickers. This has led to an increase in local drug consumption as well, with more and more people falling prey to addiction's cruel grasp. Violence, too, has been a growing concern. Gang-related incidents have become all too common, disrupting the peace and tranquility of the islands. The government and law enforcement agencies have been working tirelessly to curb this issue, implementing various initiatives and policies, but the battle is far from won. Recent events have only highlighted the gravity of the situation. Just last month, a major drug bust in Port of Spain underscored the scale of the drug trafficking problem. Meanwhile, a spate of violent incidents has caused alarm and prompted calls for more stringent measures to ensure public safety. These are the challenges that Trinidad and Tobago face today. A struggle against the twin demons of drugs and violence. A struggle that's deeply intertwined with the island's history and their place in the world. A struggle that affects every single person who calls these islands home. But despite these challenges, there's a sense of resilience, a determination to reclaim the peace and safety that these islands deserve. Because, after all, the fight isn't over yet. While the situation may seem dire, hope is not lost. Indeed, it's a difficult path ahead, but the battle against drugs and violence in Trinidad and Tobago is far from over. It's a battle being fought on several fronts, with multiple strategies in play, each one a beacon of hope in its own right. Let's delve into the ongoing efforts that are taking shape. Firstly, government initiatives are playing a critical role. A plethora of measures are being implemented, from stricter laws and enforcement to educational campaigns that aim to raise awareness about the dangers of drugs and the impact of violence. New rehabilitation and reintegration programs are also being rolled out, providing a helping hand to those who've fallen prey to these societal ills. On the community level, the fight is just as fierce. Local organizations are stepping up, offering support and resources to those most affected. They're not only providing safe spaces for individuals to escape the cycle of violence, but also creating opportunities for personal growth and development. The power of community can't be underestimated in this battle. It's about neighbors looking out for each other, families standing strong together, and communities refusing to let their streets be overtaken by fear. International cooperation is another crucial piece of the puzzle. Trinidad and Tobago is not alone in this fight. Global partners are lending support, sharing knowledge, and providing resources to help tackle these issues. By collaborating with international organizations and aligning with global strategies, the country is strengthening its ability to combat these problems. The fight against drugs and violence is a complex challenge, one that requires a multifaceted approach. It's about law enforcement and legislation, yes, but it's also about education and empowerment. It's about providing support where it's needed most, and offering hope where it may seem lost. Despite the difficulties, the spirit of Trinidad and Tobago remains unbroken. It's a spirit of resilience, of community, of hope. And it's this spirit that will ultimately lead the country out of the shadows and back into the light. The journey to reclaim paradise is a long one, but every step counts. Reflecting on the journey so far, it's clear that the struggle against drugs and violence in Trinidad and Tobago is a complex issue. This complexity is rooted in a history that has seen the beautiful twin island nation grapple with issues far beyond its control. As we've explored, the 21st century brought with it a surge in drug trafficking and related violence, a surge that has had a domino effect on the society and economy of Trinidad and Tobago. The unseen side of paradise, as we've termed it, is a dark shadow cast by the international drug trade. From the colonial era to the present day, this beautiful Caribbean nation has found itself caught in the crossfire of geopolitical power plays and the global narcotics industry. The history of Trinidad and Tobago is, in many ways, a microcosm of the wider Caribbean experience, marked by the struggles and triumphs of its people in the face of external pressures. The 21st century surge in drug trafficking and violence is a stark reminder of the challenges that Trinidad and Tobago faces. The nation's strategic geographic location nestled between the major drug-producing regions of South America and the lucrative markets of North America and Europe, has made it a target for international drug trafficking organizations. The surge is not just a number, but a wave of human lives affected, families torn apart, and communities destabilized. And this wave has triggered a domino effect. The increase in drug trafficking has escalated violence, disrupted social stability, and strained the country's resources. The ripple effects are seen in the increase in crime rates, the pressure on the judicial system, and the challenges faced by law enforcement agencies. It's a cycle that feeds on itself, with each problem exacerbating the others. The current situation, as grim as it may seem, is not without hope. Trinidad and Tobago is a resilient nation, and its people are known for their indomitable spirit. The battle ahead is tough, but not insurmountable. The government, NGOs, and the community at large are engaged in combating the issue on multiple fronts, from law enforcement to education and community outreach. The fight is hard, but it is a fight that Trinidad and Tobago is not facing alone. Looking ahead, the future prospects of Trinidad and Tobago depend on the collective efforts of its people and the international community. The fight against drugs and violence is not just a national issue, but a global one. And as the world becomes more interconnected, the responsibility to address these challenges becomes a shared one. As we conclude, remember that understanding the problem is the first step towards finding a solution. Let's ensure that the unseen side of paradise is not forgotten, but rather, let it be a call to action for all of us. Because at the end of the day, the story of Trinidad and Tobago is our story too, and it's a story that deserves a better ending.